Greetings to everyone out there in the No DQ galaxy. Welcome to the No DQ live recap of the final Monday Night Raw of the decade. And it was a long show, over 3 hours. First overrun we've had from Monday Night Raw in quite some time. So we got a lot to talk about. Thank you to everyone in the chat room and everyone else watching. I appreciate your viewership and support. Let's go ahead and get started with this Monday Night Raw recap to end 2019 and end the decade. We started off with the usual intro and pyro, and then we had Kevin Owens in the ring to kick off the show, and he said that they were going to kick off the show courtesy of Kevin Owens with big fireworks and whatnot. We had a recap shown of the AOP attack on Owens. Owens said that they might take him down, but he's going to bring them all down with him. And he talked about how he doesn't like what AOP and Seth Rollins have been doing to people that he respects. He brought up Rey Mysterio, how he respects Rey. And what the AOP did to Rey Mysterio was a factor in Rey losing the United States Championship to Andrade this past Thursday night at Madison Square Garden, WWE live event. Footage was shown from the title change, and then Owens wanted Seth Rollins, and that's when Seth Rollins came out. Rollins said that Owens had forced Rollins to make the changes that he made, and it was forced on him. Everything that's happened the past several weeks, Rollins had no other choice but to make these changes. He said that he had to make a sacrifice for the greater good. And if you resist, he said this several weeks ago, he said it again, the AOP will enforce his will. Owens then went after AOP, but AOP quickly got the upper hand, and then Samoa Joe, who got attacked last week on the Christmas Raw, came out to make the save. However, the numbers game caught up with him as well. Owens came in with a steel chair, and eventually security came out to try and separate everybody. But of course, they kept fighting. The let them fight chant broke out. The pull apart brawl. Gotta end the final Raw of the decade, final WWE programming of the decade with a pull apart brawl. You just have to. And then Owens did a big dive to the outside onto the security to end the segment. Backstage, we had Samoa Joe cutting a promo with Kevin Owens, talking about how Seth Rollins did make a choice to get Samoa Joe involved, and now because of this, Kevin Owens will never stand alone again. Owens gave Joe some props. He said that he's never met somebody as bad as Joe, and he means that in the nicest way possible. And then security showed up to escort these guys out of the building because their actions in the first segment were just too out of line. So they were kicked out of the arena. And this led to our first match of the evening. We had Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy. Both guys played mind games with each other in the early moments. And this was a hell of a match, I have to say. These guys have some amazing chemistry. And if I had to recommend anything from this show, I would say definitely check out this match. I thought it was better than their first match. So good stuff from these guys. Murphy tried to cheat, but in the end, it was Aleister Black picking up the win with not one, but two black masses on a very game Buddy Murphy. Right person won this, and I'm glad there wasn't any 50-50 booking. Keep Aleister Black strong. Good stuff here. Mo Camera with a $2.79 super chat. Thank you for that, Mo Camera. He says, Why is Vince trying to ruin the Rusev and Lana marriage? Well, I will talk about that later, Mo, since it's a little bit off topic right now. But thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate it. If you guys can try to remind me about Mo's topic later, and I will give my thoughts on that. Backstage, we had Seth Rollins cutting a backstage promo, and then he said that they were asked to leave by security, but they, unlike Joe and Owens, instead of kicking and screaming, they were going to leave voluntarily instead of being forced out. We then had Eric Rowan and Lana backstage, and Rowan wanted to know where was his invitation, but then added that him and whatever is under the cage, they really don't care about the wedding. We had Eric Rowan taking on an enhancement talent, and pretty much the same story as the last several weeks. You have the indie guy running under the ring, trying to get a peek at what's under the cage, and then he ended up losing to the Iron Claw Slam. I think it's time to move past this whole thing where the indie guy, the enhancement talent, tries to look under the cage. I mean, they've done it for like a month straight now, and I think it's run its course. It was funny the first week, less funny second week, and now it's just tedious. Just my take on it, though. We had Charlotte come out for a promo, and she officially announced her entry into the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble match. Talked about how she's the hardest working, most consistent, arguably the greatest of all time. She talked about all of her accomplishments and all the firsts, all the things that she's done. She issued a challenge to anyone in the back. Natalya accepted the match. And apparently Charlotte is a face and Natalya is a heel. I could have sworn they were friends a couple weeks ago, but I'm not really sure what the deal is here. Natalya was telling a fan to shut up, so I guess by default, Natalya was a heel here. During this match, we had R-Truth running out with the 24/7 catering guys chasing after him. And this was pretty much the only time we saw R-Truth on this show. I don't think we saw anything else from him, unless I missed something. Eric Young was out there, and he got kicked in the face by Charlotte. After the commercial break, the match resumed, and Charlotte did end up picking up the victory with the figure eight to build up the momentum heading into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We had a Becky Lynch backstage promo. She confirmed the match for the Royal Rumble, her versus Asuka. She talked about her contract coming up, and this was interesting. On Twitter, Becky brought up how her contract is up, and she would explain more on Raw. And then she mentioned on Raw that she was not going to even talk about a new contract until WWE gave her the match at the Royal Rumble against Asuka. I guess I'm curious to see where this is going. This tease that Becky's contract is up, and I wonder if they're going to do some kind of CM Punk storyline with her. I'm not sure. Interesting storyline thing that they're doing here with Becky. Psycho Jet Black with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. His comment says, would you rather watch good wrestling and bad storylines or bad wrestling and good storylines? Also, your thoughts on the Lars Sullivan situation. Again, a little off topic here. So Psycho Jet Black, I will get to this at the end. And in fact, I'm going to paste this into my notes so I can address it at the end of the video so I don't go too off topic here. And while I'm at it, I'll add in the Vince ruining the marriage so I don't forget to bring that up. Just a note, guys, if you're going to send a super chat, which I very much appreciate, please try to stay on topic to whatever I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'll try to save your comment for the end of the video, just because I know people like me to stay on topic and not go off course. Let's see here. Where are we at now? Speaking of going off course, we had another Liv Morgan video promo. Little video package, and She said the new her is way more methodical than the old Liv Morgan, and she said that she will strike when she's ready, and she's ready. Are you? That was the question. We had the OC come out, and thank you, Ufman. He says he loves the shirt. Appreciate it. We had AJ Styles showing footage of Anderson and Gallows defeating the Viking Raiders. Anderson pointed out the trophy, and Gallows talked about how they are next in line for a title opportunity. But then we had the Street Profits come out to challenge the OC, basically. Dawkins joked about them, the OC, being the best tag team in the world. And Ford mentioned how they actually beat the OC. AJ responded to this by saying they were lucky and they should stick to the backstage segments. Dawkins then made fun of the OC for being named after a teen soap opera, which of course is the OC. And they started singing the song, California, Here We Come, right back where we started from. And then Anderson responded by saying, it's not a high school musical, and Street Profits, they're going to get their asses kicked. This led to the match, and by the way, I thought that this was death for the Street Profits. The crowd was just like a graveyard for this segment, and I feel like they didn't even get the OC TV show reference at all. The whole thing just did not work out as far as I'm concerned. It just felt flat, and the crowd not reacting to anything hurt it quite a bit. I've said this before. Like I am very mixed on the Street Profits. I think that their matches are really solid, but the comedy, I don't know. Not really feeling it, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I'm not really wanting the smoke. I hate to say it. So, anyways, we had the match. Crowd was not really into it. Crowd was pretty dead for much of this show. I mean, in WWE's defense, it was a flat crowd, and a flat crowd can sometimes hurt a good show, just like a good crowd could make a bad show seem better. Crowd was just pretty quiet for most of this, from start to finish. The AEW crowds, I mean, they've been consistently good. The Raw crowds, they've been a mixed bag, and this was not a particularly good crowd this week. Ham Connor with a $2 super chat says, I am predicting WWE goes out of business on January 27th. That's the day after the Royal Rumble, and I'm not sure why he's predicting that unless David Arquette is winning the Royal Rumble and you have some sort of inside information. So we had the match between Street Profits and, wow, somebody's spamming the chat room big time. Street Profits ended up picking up the victory over the OC. AJ Styles tried to interfere during the match. He got kicked out, and then Ford hit the big frog splash to pin Carl Anderson. So the team that beat the Viking Raiders got beat by the Street Profits, and as a result of this, next week we're going to have a triple threat match between the Viking Raiders defending their tag team titles against the OC and the Street Profits. Backstage, the Street Profits celebrated, and they talked about how they're not just the best in the universe because they beat the best tag team in the world, but they are the best in the multiverse. Again, promo, I thought it was okay, better than the one they did before the live crowd, but I don't know how I feel about this. Next up, we had a handicapped match. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder up against Drew McIntyre. Drew asked the crowd for a show of hands. Are they worried about him losing in this handicap match? Nobody raised their hand, so Drew asked, is the crowd worried about the tag team getting destroyed? Everybody raised their hand for this, of course, because we all know Hawkins and Ryder, they're the job squad of WWE right now. Former tag team champions, of course. And then Drew, I guess his new catchphrase is, "You're screwed." He pretty much squashed them as we all expected. Claymore to Hawkins, Future Shock DDT to Ryder, pinned both of them at the same time as Drew McIntyre continues to build up his momentum heading into the Royal Rumble. In addition to the tag team titles being on the line next week, WWE is really loading up next week since it's the first Raw of the new year and we're getting into that Royal Rumble build. Andrade, the new United States champion, will be defending against Rey Mysterio in a rematch from Madison Square Garden. And not only that, but Brock Lesnar will show up, which means Paul Heyman comes out. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman and my client Brock Lesnar is the reigning, defending, undisputed, blah, blah, blah." So we get that to kick off the new year, everybody. Very exciting stuff here. And I guess we'll find out who Brock Lesnar's opponent is going to be for the Royal Rumble. We had Randy Orton come out. He was on crutches, and Randy cut this very melodramatic promo. He was all sad. He talked about how wrestling is not ballet. He said injuries can happen at any time, and it kills him that he needed help getting into the ring. He brought up how a close friend of his that he has a lot of respect for, Edge, had to retire due to an injury. Interesting Edge reference on this show. I wonder if that was done by design or it was just totally random. Orton basically got to the point, says at a WWE Live event over the weekend, something popped in his knee. There was an MRI done, and he is going to be out of action for a very long time. And there's a chance he might not be able to make it back. However, he said he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that somebody gets an RKO at WrestleMania. This led to AJ Styles coming out, and AJ was instigating him, getting in his face, basically taunting him, touching him, all this stuff, and said that he cannot wait until WrestleMania because he is going to retire Randy Orton. By the way, I wanted to mention that Noah Foster, I totally did not see this because he sent it right at the beginning. Noah Foster left a $50 super chat. Thank you very much, Noah, the simple man. Make sure you guys follow him on social media. He says, "Thank you, Aaron, Team No DQ, and the entire No DQ galaxy for the most active, fun year for me as a wrestling fan. Here's to the next decade as I kick off mine with Wrestle Kingdom this weekend. Take care all and Happy New Year. Hashtag No DQ for life." Again, very much appreciated, Noah. And he's been a big part of the No DQ Fantasy League. Make sure you guys check him out on social media. We love you, Noah. Everyone at NoDQ.com appreciates you. Thank you so much. Now, back to this. AJ was taunting Randy to attack him, but Randy was not doing it. And AJ even put his hands behind his back. And then AJ said he'll just wait until WrestleMania. Orton got on the mic and said the difference between them is that AJ will wait. However, Randy Orton is not a patient man. And then, bam, RKO out of nowhere. Injury was, in fact, a storyline, not a legitimate injury. So chalk one up to Dave Meltzer was right. For those of you that hate Dave Meltzer, well, he got a scoop correct. And Virtue with a $1 super chat. Thank you for that, Virtue. We love you as well, buddy. I thought that this was a really good segment. I mean, this was basically like the Mark Henry fake retirement, but in reverse, where it's the babyface faking the injury. Good stuff here. I liked it. I thought that this was a strong segment, but are they going to drag this out into WrestleMania, or is it going to happen at the Royal Rumble? I should say. That remains to be seen. Oofman Rules with a $2 super chat says, I one-upped virtue. Well, there you go. Thank you for that, Oofman Rules, and Happy New Year to you, my friend. Hopefully I'll get to hang out with you for some more pizza in 2020. We'll have to wait and see on that. So we had a backstage promo from Rey Mysterio after his loss at Madison Square Garden. He said he's looking forward to the rematch, and he gave a warning to the AOP and Seth Rollins to not count him out. We had Andrade against an enhancement talent. Zelina Vega exposed the concrete floor, and that's when Ricochet came down. He was tired of this, tired of Andrade's shenanigans, and he ended up challenging Andrade to a match. After the commercial break, we had the match. Zelina Vega once again exposed the floor on the outside. Ricochet got backdropped onto the concrete. He managed to make a comeback, but then Zelina once again caused a distraction, and that led to Andrade finally picking up the victory with the Hammerlock DDT to build up momentum heading into next week's match with Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. We had a backstage promo with Zelina Vega and Andrade. He talked in Spanish a little bit. She said that he will beat Rey Mysterio again on next week's Raw. Tic Tat Tat says Ricochet needs to go back to NXT. Well, he has really cooled off, I have to say. It's like WWE invested so much time in trying to build up Humberto that Ricochet almost became a bit player at this point. And same thing, Cedric Alexander getting the push. And yeah, Ricochet kind of got lost in the shuffle, you could say. But we'll see. Maybe he'll have a good showing in the Royal Rumble. You know, maybe Ricochet will get the Kofi Kingston treatment. And Mike D with a $3 super chat says, John Morrison, and Randy Orton versus the OC at WrestleMania? That would be an interesting match. I mean, I think, okay, I'm just going to say this real quick before we get to the main event segment. If Edge comes back, I don't see him doing a tag team match. And I think that would be a waste of Edge. Like, one could argue, well, if he's hurt, you know, you could protect him in a 6-man. But if Edge is going to wrestle again, he should just do a singles match. Otherwise, don't come back. So I'll just throw that out there. But, I mean, yeah, you could potentially see a 6-man match, somebody else in that spot in place of Edge. Like, I could see John Morrison, Randy Orton, and somebody else against the OC. I think that that's definitely a possibility. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get to the main event segment, the wedding, Bobby Lashley and Lana. So the first joke of this segment was that nobody showed up that was invited. They had a row of chairs on the stage. Nobody was sitting in the chairs. Nobody showed up to the wedding because they all hate Bobby Lashley and Lana. We had Lana do this long speech, but then I guess the minister was going off script and talking about how they might end up having children, and Lana was like, she doesn't want a little monster child inside of her, and she yelled at the minister for going off script. Crowd started chanting Rusev Day. She told them to shut up. It's Lana Day. And then she did her vows. She talked about how it was Lashley's luckiest day, and she's the greatest superstar in WWE, the greatest woman that has ever lived. And then she had Lashley read off his vows, which were basically the same comments that Lana made. She's the greatest superstar of all time. Lashley's the luckiest guy of all time. Yada, yada, yada. And then we had Lashley put the ring on and do the whole thing that the minister says the stuff, and then Lashley repeats it. Then the minister had the big line, of course, if anybody objects to the wedding, speak now or forever hold your peace. And that's when we had some random guy come out, and the minister asked, who are you? The guy said that he was Lana's first husband. They got married when she turned 18, but then she left him for that son of a bitch, Rusev, and he warned Lashley that she's going to do the same thing to him. Lashley got pissed off. He chokeslammed this guy, the first husband. The minister then said, all right, one more time. Unless anybody else objects, we're going to do the wedding, the final part of the ceremony. But then we had a woman show up, and she revealed herself to be Lashley's first wife. They met in the military, and then Lana just responded by hitting her in the face with the bouquet. The minister, for the third and final time, asked if anybody else objected, man or woman, and that's when we had Liv Morgan show up. And she was upset. She said, how could you do this to me? Bobby Lashley was like, I never touched this woman, but here's the big swerve. It was not Lashley that Liv was talking about. It was Lana. So basically, the idea here was that Lana and Liv Morgan had this lesbian same-sex relationship. They started fighting, and finally Liv got out of the ring, and it looked like we were going to have the wedding. And when all of a sudden, Rusev came out from under the cake, which we all pretty much expected. There was this huge cake in the ring, and pretty much everyone on Twitter was like, it's Rusev under the cake. Sure enough, he came out from under the cake. They started fighting. Liv Morgan got back in the ring, and Rusev and Liv cleaned house. And that's how the final Monday Night Raw of the decade ended. It was a segment. I don't know if it was good. I wouldn't say it was good, but it was interesting. It was an interesting segment, and I would be shocked if it did not pop a good number for WWE. These type of segments do. And they did the whole lesbian storyline, and they did an overrun for this. I mean, I did start this live stream a little bit late. They went about 10 minutes past the hour, so it was the first overrun on Raw for quite a while. I should say. The Game is on 100 with a $5 super chat says, Lashley and Lana had a well-laid plan but got stuck up their well-laid ass. I knew Rusev was in the cake by a mile away. WWE weddings never array. I will say, at least they did the stuff with Liv and the former wife and the former husband before Rusev came out. If Rusev just came out and that was the end, I think it would have been really lame. But at least WWE did a little bit to throw us off with the whole Liv stuff. But some people hated the Liv segment with her coming out there, and what are they doing with her and Lana, some kind of lesbian storyline, like they're going to ruin Liv, I should say, and ruin her whole character reboot. I mean, it definitely felt like a Vince Russo style segment here, and I'm sure Virtue will have his own take on it when we do the new No DQ review for 2020 to kick us off. But what did you guys think about the show? It was very long, which of course I'm not a big fan of, the 3-hour Raws, and when you do the overrun on top of it, it's just like, ugh. Virtue's trolling here saying that I'm an idiot. Rusev never did the smut stuff. So there you go. Daniel gives the show a C-. Keith Johnson gives it a C-. JSpin401 with a D. Shutterbug Fan with a D-. The People's WWE Channel with a C. The Game is on 100 with a C. Jeremy Dorset with a C+. And Chris Mace gives it a B-. Mike B with a C-. Zach with a C+. Tic Tat Tat with a B. Ace and his Familia Vlogs with a $2 super chat says, I loved the segment. I thought it was hilarious. So Ace liked it. Seems like a mixed bag from you guys. Some of you loved it. Some of you hated it. Some of you were like, what the hell am I watching? What am I doing with my life watching this stuff? CC Drink with a C, Hero Villain 5 with a D, Zach with a C plus, Michael Wayne with a C minus, the Sports Hit List with a C, and Mr. Anderson with a B. All right, so my take on it is that I really liked the Randy Orton segment. I thought that was very strong. Well done. Nice way to work us all with the injury. Although, next time somebody appears to be hurt, nobody's going to buy it. But then again, that's kind of the point of wrestling, is to work people and keep them guessing and make them wonder what's real and what's not. So, well done, WWE. You convinced a lot of people that this was legitimate. And I thought Orton did a good job with it. And I liked AJ coming out and taunting him and, touching him and all that stuff. So that was good. Wrestling-wise, Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy had a great match. Great for a Raw TV match. I definitely recommend checking that out. I like the stuff with Samoa Joe, building him up as a babyface. The Lana stuff, it was what it was. I enjoyed it. It was pretty much a train wreck and really goofy. But, I mean, if you expected something else, then why even bother? Like, you should have known coming in that it was going to be goofy and over the top, and that's exactly what it was. So, I mean, I can't complain. Everything else on the show was okay. So I'm going to give the show a C plus, little above average, some good things, but to me there was a lot of filler, and I'm not sure what to make of the Liv Morgan stuff, but I mean it was a swerve, I'll say that much. Hab Connor with a $2 super chat says, why are you in a motel? Why not? Motels are nice. Can't really say much else about it. And let's see here. So regarding Vince ruining Rusev and Lana's marriage, I don't think Vince is trying to do that. I think Vince likes soap operas, and having a split between Rusev and Lana is an interesting soap opera. Now, I think the better question is, why would Rusev agree to it, knowing the history of real-life couples breaking up after storyline breakups? But he probably feels, it's giving them TV time, and they're making money and whatnot, so just go with the flow. Hopefully everything's good in real life between them, but that's their private lives. That's their decision, whatever they want to do. Maybe they were against the storyline, but maybe somebody sold them on it. Who knows? And as far as the other questions go, so let me get to these here. Would I rather watch good wrestling / bad storylines, or bad wrestling, good storylines? I would prefer good storylines, to be honest with you. Like, I remember in '97, other than the main event scene, WWF was pretty weak as far as the in-ring product went. But I could say, like, I would take a really strong storyline, like a Stone Cold versus a Bret Hart, over these 5-star matches. Although, funny enough, Austin and Bret had a 5-star match at WrestleMania 13, one of the all-time great matches in WWE history, my personal favorite. So there you go. I mean, ideally, you want both. But yeah, I would prefer the good storylines. And if the wrestling's not that good, if I can get some really solid storylines and I have to put up with a bad undercard, then I'll deal with it, But, just good wrestling and the storyline sucking, like, it's been tough to watch, At least with the good storylines, I feel like I can tune in and there's going to be some shenanigans and something to talk about. And as far as Lars Sullivan, okay, so the Lars Sullivan situation, man, I just want to say this, like, if that's him in the video, and I'm assuming it's him, but who knows? I mean, it looks like him, and he hasn't publicly said that it is him in the videos. If it is in fact him, I think the guy's dealing with some issues, you know. He posted those comments on the bodybuilding forums that were offensive, homophobic, racist, whatever. And then we find out that he did these videos. So clearly something's going on with this guy. He's got some issues, you know, the whole anxiety report. I hope whatever he's going through, he can overcome and evolve as a person. And, you know, I wish him well, whatever he's going through. I feel bad for the guy, you know. I don't want to mock him or ridicule the guy. I hope whatever's going on with him, he can overcome it. I think he's an interesting talent. I praised him before. I think he has a great look. And it's just a shame that things have not panned out for him because of all these things going on, his personal life and injuries and whatnot. I just feel bad for the guy. So I'm going to leave it at that and not say anything else. And I'm hopeful he'll be able to get back on track and have a decent run. But I don't know if it's going to happen for him. I mean, this might be the final nail in the coffin for him, unfortunately. I really hate to say it. But, I mean, I don't know if fans are going to be able to take the guy seriously again after all this. It's just really sad, you know. Sometimes things happen that can ruin people's careers. You look at Dr. D. David Schultz, you know, he slapped that reporter, and that basically ruined his career. The guy was a really interesting talent, but that all went down, and sometimes injuries happen, and you know, people have mental breakdowns, and lots of different things can happen. Remember Nathan Jones? Like he just quit the wrestling business cold turkey, just out of nowhere. And a lot of people thought that he had potential. So things happen to people. And I don't know if wrestling's going to pan out for Lars Sullivan, but I hope whatever happens with him, he can be happy and he can be in a good place. Now, DJ Whitey with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. He says, where the hell are the Usos? I think that they can elevate the Street Profits promo-wise. The Revival shower scene was one of the most entertaining segments in the tag team division this year. Happy New Year, buddy. Well, thank you very much for that, DJ. I appreciate it. My guess is the Usos will be back soon. The latest DUI/DWI charge against Jimmy Uso has been resolved. He was found not guilty, so I think that will open the door for the Usos to be brought back now. I hope whatever's going on with Jimmy personally is resolved, that he's not going to get arrested again. Because the thing is, I feel like when it comes to drunk driving, it's very serious. And if you cannot take an Uber or find another way, then you got some serious issues you have to deal with. So I hope whatever's going on with him, it's not going to be a problem. But we've seen it before with guys like Jeff Hardy. He keeps having problems. And it seems like Jimmy Uso cannot get things under control. He keeps getting arrested. And one of these times, somebody's going to get seriously hurt or even killed. So it's a tough situation for Jimmy. It's a tough situation for WWE. The Usos, they are extremely talented. One of the best tag teams of the decade. I mean, I would argue they're right up there with New Day as far as being the greatest tag teams of the past decade in WWE. The guys were on fire a couple years ago. So again, you know, same thing with Lars. It's like, these guys have a lot of talent, but sometimes the wrestling business can take its toll. And in Lars' case, I mean, that stuff was happening before he even got into wrestling. But yeah, I mean, sometimes these guys have personal demons, and it hurts their runs. I think of Jake Roberts and Scott Hall, the substance abuse issues. I mean, it feels like Jay has a problem with alcohol. So I hope, like with Lars, that whatever Jimmy's going through, he's able to get back on track and the Usos can come back and continue to do what they do, because they're great at it. They really are. And DJ with another $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. He says, do you think AEW will give them a shot if things don't work out? That's a good question. I think that Cody and Tony Khan and everybody in AEW would be best to proceed with caution. You know, you don't want to just bring in guys because WWE didn't want to use them anymore. TNA took a chance. When they signed Kurt Angle, that was very risky because Kurt was dealing, and again, this is a recurring thing here, he was dealing with personal demons. And WWE let him go. They let him leave. TNA picked him up right away, and he turned out to be a big score for TNA, but Kurt could have died. He could have just dropped dead. He could have been going down the same path that Brian Pillman went down and countless other guys. But fortunately, Angle was able to get himself clean and get his life back on track. But yeah, it could have been a disaster for TNA, and it could have been very tragic. But fortunately, Angle turned out okay. So yeah, I don't know if it would be the best decision to sign the Usos if they are in fact let go because Jimmy gets arrested yet again or Jay gets arrested, and WWE just cannot put the corporate machine behind them. I mean, what happens if WWE pushes the Usos again and one of them hurts somebody in a DUI crash or kills somebody? Like that would, other than being a tragedy, that would be a PR nightmare for WWE. So as a company, like it's just playing with fire. And eventually, if you play with fire enough, you get burned. So yeah, it's a tough question to answer. So hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Hopefully the Usos, if they leave WWE, it's on their own terms and not the company getting rid of them because they just cannot invest in these guys because they're just too unstable. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the live stream, and good talk here. We had some deep discussion about what's been going on with Lars Sullivan and with other people. So thank you guys a lot for watching. I appreciate it. Oh, and look who's making a cameo here at the very end. You want to say something about Lana? Did you see anything from Raw tonight?
No.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, guys. So on that note, I got to go. Time's up here. Thank you all for watching. And make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. That's all I got. See you guys Wednesday. See you guys next year. 2020 AEW. We got Dynamite coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida. Gonna be a fun night. Happy New Year, everybody. Aw. Take care, everybody. I gotta go. See you all next time.